Hey, what's up guys? Safemoon has activated Swap and Evolve posted by Safemoon, Warrior, and Gluebiz, and they put out a article with it. It says Swap and Evolve, understanding the LP growth, liquidity pool growth. When Safemoon launched in March of 2021, it introduced a lot of features to the DeFi space not seen before. Among those features was a feature called Swap and Liquify. Swap and Liquify's function takes away and stores a portion of the 10% Safemoon tokenomics fee. Once this stored amount hit 500 billion Safemoon V1 or 500 million Safemoon V2, half of that Safemoon was turned into BNB, Safemoon's native token coin, and paired with the remaining 250 million/billion Safemoon. So you would have a 250 million Safemoon paired with a BNB value equivalent at that time. Swap and Liquify has its advantages and disadvantages. The main disadvantage of its function was that it caused a drop in Safemoon's price after being triggered. During times when the volume was low, this really made a visible impact. So while the token was generating liquidity, which is ultimately a good thing, it slowed the overall growth in token worth. As a result, the team has provided an evolved solution to Swap and Liquify, which is then called Swap and Evolve. I'll go over my perspective on whether this is good or not after we read a little more. What is Swap and Evolve? Let's consider what exactly it's replacing, or in this case, evolving from, which is Swap and Liquify. In its simplest form, Swap and Liquify collected a percentage of Safemoon via its 10% tokenomics fee. The LP percent it takes depends on the type of transaction. The percentage it collected was then stored until it was a value of either 500 billion, Safemoon V1, 500 million today. Once those values were reached, it triggered the contracts function, Swap, and Liquify. So it was a wallet that was taking 5% from all volume, and it was storing up Safemoon until it hit 500 billion Safemoon. It was selling half the Safemoon, pairing it, and putting in liquidity. Most people understand that. But what happened when it triggered? It split the 500 billion million Safemoon down the middle, turned 250 billion/million Safemoon into BNB, and then paired them together, adding to the liquidity pool. Now, from face value, this seems great. You're essentially providing more liquidity to the liquidity pool. However, it has a trade-off. When half of the Safemoon is turned into or swapped for BNB, it decreases the token value, negatively impacting Safemoon's token growth. So because they're taking half of the Safemoon and because they want to add liquidity to the liquidity pool, they need to pair Safemoon and BNB equally into it to raise the liquidity. But that can only happen by doing a sell of Safemoon from the wallet, from the 5% that's been storing up. When it hit that function, it would sell. So how do we negate the negative impact? Swap and Evolve. Swap and Evolve is an evolved state of Swap and Liquify. The base premise is to remove the negative impact and instead apply a positive one. This is achieved via two functions on the smart Safemoon contract: collect BNB, Swap and Evolve. Collect BNB. The function is the method by which the contract is able to collect the native coin BNB. It does by collecting Safemoon. At every 323,323 Safemoon collected, it will swap these tokens for the native coin. This native coin is then stored until the set trigger value of Swap and Evolve is reached. For Safemoon, this value is currently set to trigger at a collection of 132.32 BNB. So it's saying that with every 323,323.32 Safemoon collected, it will swap these tokens for BNB. And when it says swap, it's the same thing as a sell. So it's still having sells, it's just in a different part. All you're doing is moving where the sells happen. Instead of the sells happening all at once with Swap and Liquify when it's triggered, it's happening over time so that a big buy can happen all at once when it's triggered. But there's not a way to get around that sell in order to get the pairing to put into the liquidity pool. What makes all this positive is that when you trigger an outside source of BNB going into this, the Swap and Evolve, which is where it's headed. Swap and Evolve. Once the contract has collected and stored 132.32 BNB, the Swap and Evolve function will trigger. This trigger will take the collected 132 BNB and purchase on the open market 66.16 BNB worth of Safemoon, pair that 66.1 BNB worth of Safemoon with the remaining BNB, and then place that into the liquidity pool. How is this different from Swap and Liquify? Exactly. At first glance, it might not be obvious how this is different, so let us break it down and compare the differences. In my perspective, before I read this, with swap and liquify, we were buying Safemoon, so we were sending BNB to the liquidity pool, and that was pulling out Safemoon, and it was taking 5% of that Safemoon and storing it up until it hit the threshold, selling half, and then putting liquidity in, but having a lowering of the price at a big way. So now what I see it doing is that we send BNB to the Safemoon liquidity pool. Out comes the Safemoon at a very much smaller threshold, that 300,000 Safemoon. It swaps it for BNB. So the swap is still happening on smaller amounts over a long period of time, so that when swap and evolve triggers, it'll be a big buy on the charts. But ultimately, what you're left with, possibly, price variance might matter at the different times that buying and selling are happening. But ultimately what I see is actually just a changing of where the buying and selling is happening. That's all we're seeing. It's not like extra money is being added to it. The biggest issue with swap and liquify was its huge negative impact on the charts when it was triggered. So in order to first combat this, swap and liquify on the newly renamed collect BNB was reduced from 500 million Safemoon collection to 323,000 Safemoon collection. By doing this reduction on the collection, it prevents that negative impact on the charts. While there is still a swap of Safemoon to BNB, it isn't affecting the charts as harshly as before. In addition, when the volume levels are low, it will not create that large imbalance because instead it will be utilizing a smaller BNB collection. Once collect BNB has collected the full 132.32 BNB, then swap and evolve will trigger. This will cause a positive impact on the charts by taking 66.16 BNB and purchasing Safemoon from the open market. Once purchased, the Safemoon will be paired with the remaining 66.16 BNB and placed into the liquidity pool. As we know, having stronger liquidity helps the longevity of the token, the project, and the company. Why do we swap to collect BNB native coins? As mentioned previously, the disadvantage of swap and liquify V1 was that large amount of 500 billion/million Safemoon to BNB, although to grow the liquidity pool had a negative impact on the token price. So by first reducing the amount that is stored/swapped, you lessen the pressure on the charts. This also works in the community's favor when in times of low volume, as during swap and liquify V1. In times of low volume, it was hard to outweigh the Safemoon to BNB swap pressure when it triggered. Whereas with collect BNB at 323,000, the pressure created from the swap is tremendously lower than before, meaning lower volume can look to outweigh that pressure. Actually, now that I think about it, that might be something worth looking into because it actually be happening more often. You won't have these bigger red candles when it does finally initiate on the swap and evolve, but now because it's doing the selling a lot more often, so with volume, it would be buying and immediately at a very small threshold, selling it for BNB, storing up that BNB so that once it hits the 132 BNB, it can take half, buy Safemoon, and then pair the BNB and the Safemoon within the liquidity pool. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. The collect BNB is just the first portion of the whole swap and evolve feature. Once we have 132.32 BNB collected via collect BNB, the contract triggers swap and evolve, which takes 66.16 BNB and buys Safemoon, pairs that with the remaining 66.1 BNB and places the pair into the Safemoon liquidity pool. So with both functions collect BNB and swap and evolve running in conjunction with each other, it resolves swap and liquify V1 biggest problem by replacing the large Safemoon to BNB swaps with smaller, more controlled swaps. I think that's probably the biggest thing that's being said, but it's like, is that also a negative? Instead of building up and having a big sell-off, it's just going to be doing it a lot more often with the smaller threshold to build up the BNB, so that the BNB, when it has a big portion, will have a big green candle. Maybe in the minds of investors that'll look better on the charts. So with both functions, collect BNB and swap and evolve running in conjunction with each other, it resolves swap and liquify V1 biggest problem. And like they said, this is just the beginning. The swap and evolve feature is just the start. Once you combine it with upcoming features, it becomes a whole lot more effective, and they have a whole chart about how they're going to be taking tax from other parts of the ecosystem and pouring it into swap and evolve, and that's something that I can get behind and actually get excited about. A swap and evolve will trigger at 132.32 BNB. The current Safemoon that was building up before the team looked to turn off swap and liquify is still sitting in the pot, ready for the team to decide on the best course of action for these tokens. So I don't know how much that is. That'd be worth looking at. Apparently there is a decent amount of Safemoon tokens stored up. Used to be 500 billion, now it'd be 500 million. That would be a decent amount, would be the largest it could be before it could trigger and I guess they might be doing something with those tokens. I don't know. Hopefully they use it for the investors. Can't you just collect BNB directly and not create swap? No, you can't. Yeah, that's the entire problem, is you can't just right off the bat take BNB and store it somewhere. Otherwise, it would look really good. There wouldn't be a sell on the charts. It would be less of a buy. But no matter what, you're still just moving around buying and selling on charts. Unless you're introducing new money, that's all you're doing. And there might be a psychology to having smaller buys over a long period of time and a big sell, as opposed to having smaller sells over a longer period of time with a big buy. And I think that's just the main difference between these two. If you guys want another video of me writing these things out and drawing it out for you guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.